used to think love was a dream, and then you came to me out of the sky. I closed my eyes, and now I realize.
Hello, and welcome to Inspiration Soup. I'm Jackie Joya, your host, and today we're talking about taking a leap in consciousness. I'm here with my guest, Theo Tilton of Theo Tilton Coaching, and he is a two-time best-selling author, a public speaker, and a quantum mind-shifting coach. So let's welcome Theo to our show today. Welcome, Theo. Thanks for coming on today.
Nice. Thank you for having me. It's really great to be here.
And we're going to be making a special traditional Greek lemon chicken soup, right?
Oh, yes. That's one of my favorites. It's the Avgolemono soup.
Oh, you say that so nicely.
I was raised, I had a Greek stepfather. My mother's married, when she married twice, her second marriage was a Greek man. And so there was lots of Greek food in the house. So we had fasoulada and avgolemono and all different korbiedis and, so if you have any Greek watchers or whatever, they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's saying. One of the reasons why I love it too, just so you have a backstory on this, is that saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So there's kind of like this funny comedic Greek saying, when life gives you lemons, make avgolemono.
I love that you just said that, because I literally was thinking about that this week while preparing for this interview.
Yeah.
So these are your books. This is very exciting. Quantum Mind Shifting.
Yep.
This is your most recent book, right?
That's my most recent book. I wrote it, I think, 8 weeks ago now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been very quick. I wrote it in 4 weeks. I created an intention of wanting to write another best-selling book before going to an expo that I was going to be at. And
is that the expo that we met?
Yes, we met. At the Heart of Oneness Holistic Expo.
Yeah.
That's how we met.
Wow, that was very soon. We just met like a month ago.
Yeah. And I remember speaking to the organizers because they wanted me to speak. And I said, that's great. I'll turn that topic into a book and I'll have it published and it'll be a bestseller and printed all before the expo. And they said, no way. I'm like, I've got the force of the universe on my side. We'll do it.
What power, right? It's nice to have that power.
Yeah.
I hope you're going to share with our audience how you can hold that power in your hands.
Absolutely. Well, it's all in the power of how we speak. So that's how we're going to do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So then I see that's this book, and then you have this practice method. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the practice method?
Sure. Practice method is a blueprint. It's a 30-day program filled with 24 steps of how to completely reinvigorate your life, such that by the end of the 30 days, you have now 24 new tools in the area of being, such as, integrity, responsibility, routines, actions. So the word practice, PRACTICE, is an acronym that stands for 3 unique tools for every single letter in the word practice.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so that's kind of the reminder of, okay, practice. P is for promises and possibilities and what it is that we're practicing in life. So this 30-day program I launched, I wrote it during the pandemic, 2021. And this itself is a manifestation that I could share with you at some point. But the launch date of this book was November 17th. 2021. And it went to international bestseller in 48 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was all part of a manifestation that I created as well. A year earlier, or actually several years earlier, I was in a course that was November 17th. And I was working at the time in corporate America. And I remember saying out loud, because I had tried to leave corporate America for like a decade.
Wow.
Um,
Do you want to share what you were doing in corporate?
so yeah, I was a software. So formally, I'm an engineer by education.
Okay.
I have a triple bachelor's in engineering, and I then did nothing with the majors that I. So I graduated with a $200,000 education, and did nothing with engineering. But I went into software engineering. So as soon as I was hired out of school, I knew more about software than anything because I had gone to a very high technology school. So I quickly went back to school and learned 15 software programs
Oh, okay.
in the course of 6 months, to the point where now I was becoming an engineer in those trades.
Did you ever foresee any of that when you were growing up? Like, you know how sometimes you get a feeling when you're a child about where you might live or what you might do? Or did you ever have a feeling that you liked working in computers or?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't maybe a thing yet.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
But I remember I had the Commodore. And I had this thing, there was a company called ColecoVision, and I had one of these first computers that were like, I forget how many thousands of dollars it was that my parents spent to get me this computer. And it ran on cassette tapes. It's like you literally put cassette tapes, and it had like a Microsoft DOS interface, and I learned how to program. Even back then, I think I was like 12. So that was my first computer. And then when I went to school, I was already pretty much fully aware of what was going on, through all the magazines and, Consumer Reports and Scientific, whatever, American, like all these different magazines that I read.
Yeah.
So kind of, definitely was a dreamer. It's still to this day. There's some things that I dreamed about as a child. We had Star Trek, and we had flying cars, and we had the Jetsons, and all these things.
Yes, yes.
And a lot of these things are starting to happen.
I know they are.
And so it makes you wonder: are we manifesting it? Did someone time travel and bring something back and start creating a cartoon around it?
It is suspicious.
Or is it some kind of synchronicity that's going on? I have a tendency to believe the latter. I think it's a synchronistic thing. Like we've all been programmed, to believe that there's a possible future. For instance, the Terminator movies, you have AI takes over.
Yeah.
We were told that 20 years ago.
Yep.
And now it's starting to occur.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes you wonder what's next.
I believe that people are inspired so that they have an idea, and then, someone else is brought forth with the know-how of, internally they kind of have that skill set to make some things happen. So as we're growing up, we all get different inspirations, and if we listen and we follow that, then we can then bring something forward and create something that's real here on this earth. But if we don't listen to it, it might get passed off to someone else. So, there's the bit about all of us being able to work together and create something. It's not one person who's creating everything, right?
Yeah, there's a few things that I'm hearing what you're saying, if you don't mind me indulging.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I practice as a practitioner, as a coach. I do something called human design. So human design is kind of like the easiest way to describe it is like an astrology on steroids. But really what it is, it's a merger of 5 different modalities. It's chakras, it's I Ching, it's astrology, it's aura colors, it's the Kabbalah, all mixed.
All the ancient philosophies. Yeah. I love that.
And it has a blueprint. It says, this is who you are. Like, these are your talents. These are your skills. This is your life purpose. This is your life path. And I have yet to see it not be accurate. But in addition to that, you mentioned divinely inspired, like Akashic record ideas that come out. So there's this idea that the Akashic records hold all knowledge, even future knowledge that has not yet happened. Because there's no time and space in the divine. So chances are when a brand new idea comes through us, there's somebody else on the planet that's also getting the idea.
I think I know where you're going with this right now.
and it's given to multiple ideas because the universe, or the quantum, I call it the quantum. In my book, I call it the quantum substrate or the quantum substance. It wants to express itself through itself because we're just an extension of it. So it says, let me give this idea out. So it starts pushing it out. It could be 100 different people have the same exact idea at the same exact time. And it's allowing it to come up. So whoever has the skill set, the talent, the this, the that, even if they don't have the skill set or the talent, they might be inspired enough to actually pull it into existence.
Right.
And before you know it, poof, it happens. And then we're sitting in our living room watching television or listening to the radio or reading a magazine like, that was my idea. I thought of that idea 10 years ago. It's like, well, you didn't have the particular knowledge or skill to bring it out into the world. That person did.
Or the confidence sometimes.
Or the confidence.
Yeah. I feel like what you're talking about is giving scientific validity to the divine.
Yes. Well, that's what quantum physics has done since World War II.
Because scientists usually will argue the presence of God or the existence of a creator. And so I feel like what you're sharing in your information is a way to explain both. Kind of at the same time.
Yeah. Well, even in the scientific community, I'm talking about biologists, chemists, like physicists, right? Astrophysicists. The quantum physics has still been a very elusive topic in the scientific community until recent, like the past couple decades. And they're now starting to pay attention. Like, wait a minute. There is something else going on. Like, there is scientific experimentation now that proves this.
So it's really interesting that you are bringing this up because when we met, my husband and I had literally just watched a program on quantum entanglement and how they were using equipment to prove something that Albert Einstein was onto, and he couldn't get to it. And other scientists took over after the fact, and they found a way to use their equipment to determine that something happens on one side, like with one particle, it happens with another particle somewhere else at the same time. And when we met and you were talking about that in your workshop, I was like, yes, I know about this. Yeah. It was fascinating to see that coincidence happen, you know.
The synchronicity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe I referred to that as the quantum tickle. Right.
Yeah,
so the famous experiment where they split an atom apart, they put it in two different devices and put them in different rooms, and then they stimulated or tickled the one part of the atom, and then the other part started moving and shaking and being agitated.
Amazing. Yeah.
So what this really proves is that the whole universe is connected. Like that. You know, like the butterfly theory.
Yeah.
You know, a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil and it causes a tornado in Japan or something like that. So it's like that molecularly and atomically, we are all connected.
So that makes a case for prayer as well, right? If you are, if you put this in the spiritual realm, prayer is conscious thought and attention given to a particular person, say, on the earth or a situation. And so that actually carries, would you say, a vibration that has that ripple effect, or
absolutely
it works on that quantum level?
Yeah, because your thoughts are energy waves, which has a vibration, and then your words are vibrational energy frequencies. And you are the observer. So in quantum physics says you require an observer. So there's a beautiful mechanism in our mind, which I talk about in the practice method, called the reticular activating system.
Yes.
So the reticular activating system is an interpreter of reality, but you can program it. So like people don't realize you can program your RAS. And so if I was to say to you, hey, I want you to think of the color red. Think of the color red, and all you want to see now is red. And I ask you to look around the room and find red.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to start to notice all the red. You're going to start counting the objects that are red. But then if I ask you a question, hey, how many things are green? You're going to sit there and be like, I'm not sure. Did you see anything green? I don't really think I saw green. All right, now say green, 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 green. And now look around, and all of a sudden you start noticing all the green things.
Mm-hmm.
What happened between those two exercises
Mm-hmm.
was the reticular activating system was filtering out the billions of pieces of information.
Mm-hmm.
So that it only allows you to interpret the universe that you're creating through your language.
Mm-hmm. So is that similar to law of attraction, where you put your focus is what you attain?
Okay. What you attract. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the thing that you bring attention to
Mm-hmm.
is interpreted as your intention.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that you become, you start to attract more of the thing that you become.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a saying, just try to manifest it and attract it into your life. Well, it's not as that simple. You actually have to become the thing.
Yes. Yes.
So if you want to attract a life partner that's healthy and that doesn't drink or that doesn't do this and you need to do all of those things yourself.
That is what I teach in my women's empowerment program. All about, if you're looking for love, you have to start with yourself. Mm-hmm. First, you need to fall in love with yourself.
Yes.
Before someone else will, but you want to become the thing that you want to see come to you. Yes. It's a really remarkable way to be, because I don't think we are taught any of this as children.
No.
And I think this is a great time for children to be growing up, because it's much more in the mainstream now than it was when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really refreshing to see that we can give them other tools that are going to help them create the life that they want faster than, maybe we took, a couple of decades to get there. You could see the evidence of it with all the 20-year-old millionaires there are now. And
absolutely,
I think that, they're in the flow, they're learning.
Yeah. And we've created tools, the world has created tools to allow that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But there is definitely, if you can think it, there's a famous saying, what the mind can conceive
mm-hmm.
and believe, it can create, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we could totally do anything. We just have to, similar, I'm going to write a best-selling book in 4 weeks. And there was a part of me that doubted it. There really was a part of me that doubted it. But I had people around me who were like, you can do it. I know you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely need the community. So,
yes.
Building a community of like-mindedness, which I call the Mastermind,
mm-hmm.
will give you so much. It gives you legs to stand on.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're trying to create something and you only have one leg, it's not going to last very long. A wind will come by and just blow your idea over.
Right.
But if you've got a community and everybody's standing on 2 feet and they're all going in the right direction and you got 10 or 20 legs behind you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now you're talking root chakra stuff.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yes, earth element, root chakra. You have to have that balance first before you can move up.
Exactly.
In the body and also in life.
Yeah.
And that's all part of your human design part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And also the prayer part,
mm-hmm.
the Judeo-Christian Bible, Jesus says, when 2 or more are gathered in my name,
mm-hmm.
right? So really what the metaphysical interpretation is when 2 or more are gathered in the same thought,
mm-hmm.
there's power.
Yes.
So all we need to do is bring clarity and power of the group, and anything can happen.
I love that.
Yeah.
So speaking of group and power, I remember you were saying something about prayer,
mm-hmm.
and that was a big part of your life at some point. Do you want to take me back a little bit to origins of that, or?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was raised born again Baptist, if you could imagine.
Right?
And
this is such a leap. Speaking of leaps, right? From where I
was
to where you are now. That's a huge leap.
Yeah.
Was there any?
I always had ideas, because I was very science oriented.
Mhm.
And of course, in Christianity, science is the devil, right? So in certain Christian circles. And it was very strict. It wasn't just Sundays. It was like you went to Sunday school, then you went to Sunday service, and then you went to Wednesday night Bible study, and then you went to Friday, Like, so it was like multiple times a week.
Mhm.
And then my mother, thankfully, God bless her, she was the black sheep of the family. So she was like, I'm not going to allow my son to get so much inundation.
Okay. Yeah.
So she was like, just go to church on Sunday.
Oh.
And so she was kind of like my rock,
Mhm.
but then I started learning science and I started noticing things and I had these grand ideas. What if God is just a bunch of atoms and molecules? So, and then when I went to college and I started formatting these ideas, I thought, oh, atoms look just like the universe. Like there's planets spinning around a sun. Isn't that peculiar? It looks just like an atom.
Uh-huh.
And then one magical day, and I had my trials and tribulations, bad relationships, bankruptcy, like you name it, I've had it. And I had a horrible fight with a partner at the time. And plus I'm LGBT community, so I'm a gay man, right? So I was going to hell every Sunday.
Right.
At church.
Yeah.
And
that must have been really hard.
That was difficult. And nobody knew.
Because you didn't have the community support.
Right.
Like
and nobody knew, and I hid it.
Yeah.
And there might have been a little inner circle that I had friends in high school, but like really nobody knew. That was a secret for the longest time. It wasn't until I went to college that came out.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was I decided to expand, and started reading. I found the book The Secret, and then I found out that there was a movie. And I was like, oh, let me try this for a second. Let me see what this is all about. And there was this one moment in the movie or in the book that it says, I want you to think about somebody who it's virtually impossible that they would ever contact you, but you know who they are, like a long lost relative or a friend of a friend of a friend or something. I was like, oh, I got someone perfect. And I thought of I had a best friend when I was a child, between 8 and 12 years old,
mm-hmm.
and his name was Chris. And he had a baby brother. So when I was friends with Chris and we were like 8 to 12, his brother was like 4 years old. Like, so I was not friends with his brother.
Okay.
And his name happened to be Sean. And so I thought of him. I was like, all right, Sean, thinking of bringing this attention. I'm going to see Sean. And I kid you not, here it's been 20-something years, 27, 30, almost 30 years. I went out the next night and I went to this bar somewhere in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And I see this little guy like drinking and dancing around doing this thing. And I was like, hold on a second. That's Sean. And I walked out. I was like, Sean? He's like, and we connected. We've been friends ever since.
Wow.
But the fact that happened, and just the only thought I had around him was the night before. And I thought, there's something to this. There's got to be a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started really, really diving in. I mean, I read hundreds of books.
Wow.
Took 75 to 100 classes. I spent $250,000 on my personal development and education.
That's a lot of money and time. Wow.
And over the course of those years, I found a religious following called, at the time it was called Religious Science International. It's now called Centers for Spiritual Living. It has been around for over 100 years. And I was like, well, I'm going there. Wow, there's a church that teaches the law of attraction. Holy crap, what? So I became a practitioner, studied for 5 years, was a licensed prayer practitioner for about 8 years. And towards the end of that, I was like, I'm going to write a book and share all this information with the world. And that was the practice method.
Oh, okay.
So all the tools that I had learned and spent $250,000 and all the spirituality, and I put it all into one blueprint.
Yeah.
So that people didn't have to do what I did. They didn't have to spend 10 years and $250,000 to get the art of being in spiritual, in the spiritual sense. And today I'm launched this new book, and it's all about the power of the prayer.
And that's all for the low cost of.
The first book, isn't that funny? This one is on Amazon, $24.99.
Oh my goodness!
And the workbook is $9.99. And my brand new book is $17.99.
Okay.
Yeah. So all this, and this particular one is about the power of your words, specifically through prayer. This is the 5 years of prayer education that I got and studying the 5 world religions.
Okay.
And the formula they gave. And what I did was I matched it with quantum physics.
Yeah.
So, hey, with this formula of the prayer, it's actually speaking about science and this particular aspect.
I love that. This is so needed.
Yeah.
Because that's how you take the leap from one philosophy of thought to another and bring them together. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. And I talk about leaping in here because we're, according to Michael Bernard Beckwith, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, he says that there's 4 levels of consciousness. The first one is victimization.
Okay.
And 80% of the world is in this.
80%.
Yeah. A lot of the world is in
That's
victim.
a big number.
Big.
Wow.
Then there's manifester.
Okay.
And a lot of people who dabble in spirituality and law of attraction, they jump into this and like, oh, I can manifest. I got a new car, I got my parking spaces, got my green lights, like all these things. Got to work with no traffic. That's manifester consciousness. So that you've made it out of victimhood and now you're into manifester.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean your foot isn't still stuck in victimization. Then he talks about channeler. So the channeler is like you come to the realization that it's actually happening through you. Not just through me as a vessel, but through everyone as a vessel. Through you. Through you, through all of us.
Yeah.
And then the final level is the as me consciousness, where we stumble upon this idea of like, oh, wait a minute. If God is everywhere, it must be where I am. And so we become manifestors, but not because we're speaking it into reality, but just because we show up. So, I joke now, but before coming here today in this interview, I thought there's something telling me to bring microphones.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. That is the as me consciousness.
Yeah.
So it's connecting into the being consciousness.
Okay.
And saying, for whatever reason, you need these today. And you just bring it with you. It's kind of like bringing an umbrella, but there's no rain in the forecast. And all of a sudden it rains and you're like, I got an umbrella.
Right.
I don't know why I brought it, but I have it.
And you didn't know, and I didn't know that the microphones wouldn't be charged.
Right.
I mean, they were plugged in, then they never charged. It's such a strange thing. So I wonder what that means.
It just means that divine consciousness was ready for that to happen. And I was listening. So it's like just being a part of that puzzle.
Yeah. And you acted on it. Because you could have just got that message, but then not act on it and be like, oh, that's stupid. Why would I do that? But you actually listened and acted on it.
Totally.
Thank God.
I do that all the time. I literally do all that all the time.
Yeah.
I have a few friends, and they know this about me now. And they're like, this is the most prepared person I have ever met in my entire life. Like something will happen.
Are you a Virgo?
I am a Virgo. That's part of my design. And part of my design.
Yep.
And I'll be like, oh, you need dish soap? I just happened to bring that today in my car. Like what? Why would you bring this? Like, I listen to things, and it just literally happens. So I'm a channeler and a being. So I find myself in that space.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when we say quantum leap, back to your comment, is that how do we consciously jump from one to another? And that's where QMS comes in. So QMS, quantum mind shifting, is our ability to verbally and consciously move from victimhood into channeler. Like how do we jump You have to use your language.
So when Jesus said, I am
Yes.
that I am.
Yep.
And we can use that as a guide, actually, right? That
Totally.
when you say I am, you are making it so.
Yes.
So
you're creating a
instead
blueprint.
of saying I want to be, I wish to be, I desire, you say I am, and it comes.
Well, let me correct that.
Right? No?
Because when you say I am, it's in the present.
Mm-hmm.
All those other forms, it's not that they don't exist. It's just that the universe responds and gives you exactly what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, I will, or I wish, or I hope, or I da-da-da. Okay. Like, and it just keeps giving you more of that thing.
The wishing for it.
It's going to still keep giving you the wishing.
Yeah.
It's still going to give you all the signs and the signals that are going to provoke wishing for it, hoping for it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you declare, I am it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you might not believe it.
Right.
You actually might not believe what you're saying.
Right.
There's something that's happening right now in my life. Can I share?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've been looking for a home, and because things have been expensive, and I was like, maybe I'll just get an apartment. And I was like, let me sit down and really describe what this apartment is. How does it make me feel? I feel quaint. I feel safe. I feel protected. I feel warm. It feels crisp. It feels clean. It's by the water. I can hear the water.
Mm-hmm.
There's a nice breeze. There's trees. There's an outdoor area. I feel the colors white and gray, and it's up. It's lifted up. I can have a view. And that was like 3 weeks ago. I started doing that, and just last week, I was sitting down at a restaurant with a bunch of friends, new friends, by the way, that I really only met them in like the last 6 months. So brand new friends. And the one guy goes, oh yeah, I just bought a new house over in this town. I was like, oh, were you renting before? And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, where's your apartment? And he shares the location. I'm like, that's interesting. That's right on the water. How much are you paying? So they started getting into logistics, and I could feel, all of a sudden, I could feel this energy inside of me. It was almost like, how when you have two magnets coming together and they can repel or they can attract?
Yeah.
I felt the pull.
Yeah.
So I was like, something's pulling me. This is interesting.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was, what's the address? Can I look it up? And he's like, are you interested? I'm like, I am very interested. And so I drove past it. Gray, white framing, on the water, balcony, perfect. It was literally the image of everything that I was creating in my head. And I was like, wow, this is actually manifesting before my very eyes.
So the question to me is there a part of you out, like, let's say your spirit, who actually kind of knew that was there and is feeding you that information? Or are you broadcasting the signal that's bringing it to you? I think
that's kind of a paradox.
Yeah.
It's kind of probably a little bit of both. The Buddhists say that we are the Brahma. It is us. So and in New Thought, they say the same thing. Like, God is the only thing that there is. Call it God, whatever you would call it. Call it the quantum. I call it the quantum.
Source.
Source energy, universal energy. It's only one life happening, actually. And we just happen to be the 8 billion expressions of that life experiencing itself through our sight, senses, feeling, touch. So I get to experience you get to experience me, but really it's the divine looking at the divine.
Yes.
And
I believe that.
This idea of this apartment was, yes, I broadcasted it out there, but the universe knew that it existed. And so therefore I wouldn't have been able to come up with the idea without it already existing.
Okay.
And so it's literally just synchronistically pulling them together.
Yeah.
So I'm quantumly entangled with the idea that I created. And so it's just looking for the match. Oh, here's the match. Now let's pull you together. And that's why the dinner happened. And that's why the conversation happened.
And would you say it also came because there was no real attachment, right?
Totally no attachment.
To the outcome.
Yeah.
right? Isn't that the magic? That secret sauce is like
The
you
secret
have to
sauce is
have
release.
no attachment, and
Yeah.
it will come.
Yeah, I call it the quantum surrender.
Yeah, that's cute.
Which is like, you just know. You know what? I don't know how or when. I just know. It's happening.
Yeah.
And I know so much I can let go of it now. That's the real power of manifestation.
Yeah.
The moment you say, you know what? I'm going to stop looking.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It happens.
That is, I believe that to be true. One of the first books that I read when I started on my spiritual journey was The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra.
Deepak Chopra, yeah.
And the second law, I think it was the second law of detachment.
Law of detachment.
Yeah. That one I found to be like the magic. And it's not easy when you are, let's say you're struggling for money.
Especially if you're a Virgo.
Right? Oh,
you want to control everything. Yeah.
Yeah. But,
or a Capricorn. Capricorn is like that.
Capricorn too. Yeah. Yeah. I got the double whammy in my chart. Mm-hmm. So, it's just interesting how, we can get so fixated on having like we have a need for something and we want it now. But we get in our own way every time we have that, as they say, the sense of lack. Like the lack is actually is putting that block in its way, right? Mm-hmm. When you are wanting something so bad that you're actually not
putting
doing
a filter.
well without it.
Yeah, and
right?
You're putting a filter of lack in. Like you're saying that accurately. The moment I also tell this to clients. Try not to over celebrate your accomplishments. Like it's okay to say, hey, that was amazing accomplishment. Let's have a glass of wine with dinner tonight. Like have a symbolism. Mm-hmm. But don't be like, I'm going to spend $10,000 and have a huge celebration party because we won the contract. And don't do that. Don't do that, because what you're actually saying is, it almost wasn't going to happen. Like you're telling the universe you weren't believing it was going to happen. So you're telling the universe you believe more in lack than in the celebration of you achieving. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's really a nice, subtle way. Tricky. It's like, okay, of course it happened.
Of course it happened.
Of course
I made that.
It happened because I made it happen. Of course it happened.
Yeah.
Take responsibility for it happening, as opposed to thinking it wasn't going to happen, and you're so lucky that it did. There is a difference. So
it's awesome.
Yeah,
that's tricky stuff, and it's not for the weak.
No, it's a very adult. And the funny thing is that children can manifest like you won't believe.
Because they don't have doubts yet.
Because they don't have it yet. They don't have the indoctrination of the conditioning. It's not until you're about 5, 6, 7, 8. That's when the conditioning really starts. And that's no coincidence. The schooling system starts.
Right. So that's why you have to work with the parents, get them on board first.
Yep.
So that we can change the world one child at a time through the parents.
Yeah.
Right.
It happens. That's where it happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, this has been exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
And I think that you have more to share, right?
Yeah.
But I think we could do that over soup. So how do you feel about getting in the kitchen now?
Definitely. Let's get in the kitchen.
Okay, let's get in the kitchen.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Are you ready to smell good and feel good? This is Divine Creations Aromatherapy, and these oils were created to help you feel good naturally. How would you like to feel more joy? Could you use some uplifting? Our joy oil is just what you need. With the scent of lemon, orange, sandalwood, cypress, sage, and coriander, this joy oil will help uplift you, restore your confidence, release any negative energy, and bring positive energy your way. If you'd like to learn more about the joy oil, you can check out our website at dc-aroma.com, because who doesn't need more joy? Okay, so here we are in the kitchen, and we're getting ready to make our Avgolemono soup. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
Avgolemono.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. I'm going to show you what we have here going in the soup. So we are going to use our better than bouillon, and that's the chicken, for the chicken broth. We have a half a cup of white rice. This is jasmine rice. You could use orzo or any other little pasta, right? And we have a 1/4 cup of fresh lemon juice squeezed by hand. We have 3 eggs, and we're going to scramble those up. This is 2 whole chicken breasts. And technically, the only other ingredient for the soup is the chopped fresh parsley for the garnish. But, you know, I'm a little whimsical, and Theo agreed that spinach is always a good plus for the soup, so we have some fresh spinach leaves. And we are also going to get a little spicy here in the kitchen, and we have some oregano and obviously some salt and pepper to taste. And this recipe that Theo gave me is something that can be done in 2 pots, where you cook the chicken separate and then you put it into the broth and shred it. But we're going to get a little wild, and we're going to do it in 1 pot, because what we're going to do is get that crisp on the chicken, and it'll be a little bit of like that nice brown chicken flavor in the soup. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do it all in one, and because of that, we have some avocado oil that we're going to start cooking with. All good?
All works.
All right. And so let's make some soup. I'm going to turn on the heat.
Yeah.
Turn on the heat. Turning on the heat in the kitchen.
To high medium, right?
Do you like to cook? Are you
I am, you know what? I am a chef.
Oh, wonderful.
So it took me long to actually say that, but, you know, I used to say just good cook.
Uh-huh.
And then now I officially graduated.
You're like multi-talented. I love it. Well, you know, isn't food life? Like, it's...
Food, definitely. And, you know, my talent really resides in, I can just go into someone's fridge and be like, let's just make something gourmet. Like, I can just figure it out.
Oh, you need to be...
I'll go through the cabinets and be like, we're going to make, you know, blah, blah, blah.
You need to be on those cooking shows then. That's what you're going to... That's your next path.
See, instead of a spiritual guru, you know,
yeah,
you're going to be doing cooking.
Yes.
All right,
like got spirituality in the kitchen. So is about a tablespoon of oil good?
Yeah. I like to coat the pan.
Coat the pan. All right.
Very good.
Would you like to drop the chicken into the pot?
Get the outside edges and get some of that flavor. You can hear that. You want to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to get the pan nice and hot so you hear the sizzle.
So you hear that sizzle.
We're going to use that fork to scramble our eggs.
Yes. And we don't have to worry about cross-contamination with this, because that egg mixture is going to end up going in the soup anyway. So it will...
I mean, but what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Exactly.
They're all from the same place.
Exactly. So while you're doing that, I'm going to season the chicken a little bit.
Okay. Because this is a very interesting recipe that there are no foundational ingredients like garlic or onion. Yeah. Right? So this is very interesting to me. I've never done this soup.
Well, you can, you know, there are versions of this, and there's modernized versions of, you know, where you can use like a mirepoix, you can put carrots and celery and onion, and this is just another salt.
Yeah, that's all. Mm-hmm. Just a different salt.
Yeah.
Iodized.
And but the most traditional of all Greek spices, herbs and spices, will be the oregano. Mm-hmm. And there is not a dish that exists in Greece that does not have oregano in it. So
all right.
We're gonna definitely do that.
And so what we're going to do with the lemon juice and the egg mixture, we're going to mix these first.
Yes.
Is that right?
So that gets nice and done.
All right.
And then you're going to pour the lemon in it, and you're going to whisk it through again. And then that's going to just stay on the side.
All right.
And so, you know, in Greece, the whole Avgolemono is this. It's because the translation of Avgolemono is egg with lemon.
Okay, egg with lemon.
And so that you will see this in like chicken dishes, soup dishes, salad dishes, like all kinds of different dishes will use the Avgolemono. Okay. So that's like a fundamental basis.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it's like the chicken franchise is coated with an egg batter, and has the lemon sauce. So it's like the chicken, the egg, and the lemon all really go well together.
Yes, they do. They always do.
Smells good.
Starting to smell.
One day someone will invent smell-o-vision.
Yes. We've been saying that for 50 years.
I know. I think what's going to happen is we'll just become more psychic, and our senses will become more attuned. I actually had an activation a few years back that really worked on my third eye, and I was watching a TV show, and they were showing Philadelphia restaurants, and they were showing Philadelphia cheesesteak. And I was smelling that cheesesteak. I swear to you, I was smelling that, and I thought, wow, that smells amazing.
You know, what's really funny is, so I do human design. So one of the things and in human design, there's your strategy and your authority, which comes from your solar plexus, your spleen, your chakra, your sacral chakra. So depending on how your design is set up, you might have a different authority source that helps your inner guidance in your body system. And as a result of what that is, we have all these extra heightened senses. So we perceive reality through our senses. So you might have a taste orientation in reality. So when you have fond memories as a child, you might remember tastes. Or if someone mentions a food, you instantly taste it.
Okay. Well, I do aromatherapy, so my nose is very attuned to different smells.
Different smells, yeah.
And
then
very
they're
acute.
Connected.
Yeah.
The smell and the taste.
Absolutely. You can't taste unless you can smell, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's wonderful. And this is smelling wonderful.
Yeah, we're starting to get like the caramelization on the bottom of the pan, which is what we really want.
Yes.
So you see that brown, that's just this oil and the spices and the chicken juices just starting to caramelize. You know, what we can do as this starts to really get in, I think now that we're starting to get the brown, I think we can do some of the stock, the bouillon. And
shall we?
And then add the water and then start to get the stock.
I'm going to start the stock, put the bouillon first or the water?
I would say the bouillon and then the water.
Yeah, okay. Now we're on high. We have the 4 cups of water now in the pot. And we want to bring this to a boil before we put the rice in, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also what we're going to do is, so you're going to bring this to a boil. It's going to cook down the chicken. We want to probably do that for a few minutes, and then we'll pull the chicken out and then shred it.
Do we want more water? Do you like the amount that's in there? It's 4 cups.
We could probably add another cup to that.
One more?
Your lemon is probably one of the most common. You have your oregano, you have your lemon, you have olive. There's certain ingredients that are overused in Mediterranean dishes.
Yes. So this is a very healthy soup.
Extremely.
Right?
Yes. Well, what is it? Hippocrates, that he was the founder of medicine, or the philosopher of medicine.
That's right. Do no harm. Yep.
Do no harm. He says, "Food is thy medicine. Medicine is thy food." And I will add into that that Avgolemono is the cure. So cold, make some.
Okay, I'm just curious though, because I'm Italian, and garlic is the cure-all for everything. Oh, yeah. And there's no garlic in this, so it's killing me.
Well, I have seen it where people will add in a little crushed garlic. So if you want to spice it up, I kind of curious. Right. Like, I don't want to spoil the broth. At least a teaspoon of garlic in there.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
I do have a
That'll make it taste really good.
Tell me when.
That's good right there.
Okay. All right, that was like a tablespoon?
The gods approve.
The gods approve of that? Okay.
Yes. Very good. So we'll just wait for this to come to a boil.
Yeah.
And then we'll bring it down. We're going to wait a couple minutes so the boil goes away. And then we'll ladle out some into the egg.
Yes.
And keep whisking it while it's happening.
Yes.
So that it doesn't cook the egg. You just want to temper the egg.
Okay.
And that's what gives this that. It almost looks like cream is in the soup. It's not.
That's why.
It's because of the tempered egg.
it's a miracle. It's like chemistry, right?
It is. It's like chemistry.
Yeah.
It gives you this beautiful, creamy mixture, and it thickens it, and everything.
That's how you don't know that there's actually egg in the soup, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because like egg drop soup, they crack, they put the egg right in the hot water, and you can see the. Yeah. And in Italian, we have the straticelli soup where you can see the egg in it. But
and that's
this
usually
one,
like an escarole. They have escarole and the egg going through. Yeah, it's a delicious soup. Yeah.
So this is a Greek version.
Yeah.
And you don't see the egg. That's really neat.
Yes.
I love it. So you had told me that you had lost a lot of weight at one point. Is this a soup that you use
this is definitely
for weight loss?
This is something I grew up with.
Okay.
No, it's not what I use for weight loss, but however, it is very healthy. Like there's really nothing in this soup that would cause weight problem. You know, the rice is very limited, so I would consider this to be one of the healthier soups. But yes, back 31 years ago now, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
I was 337 pounds. I know. I still funny. I still consider myself big, but I am not like nowhere near where I was.
But you're tall, so I could see that you could probably carry that off and not look like, you know 330
pounds. Definitely say that.
Yeah.
Like I'm currently, because I've been doing lots of muscle building and all because I was a personal trainer also
of
for
course
20 years and a spinning instructor. So I have a lot of background now on what I was doing back then that I had no idea what I was doing.
Well, you were getting healthy.
I was getting healthy.
Yeah.
I was moving more, eating more frequently, eating smaller, eating more healthy.
Okay.
Balanced.
Right.
I always had a vegetable. I always had a protein.
Right.
And it was either, and I always choose. I either had a fruit and a protein or a vegetable and a protein. I never had fruit and vegetables together.
Really?
And I never had, I only ate starch once every couple of days, like potatoes. Like I did not eat starch every single day.
Okay.
Multiple times a day.
Right.
And I lost 128 pounds in 1 year.
Did you have a formal program or did you kind of make it up?
I just made it up.
Okay.
It was kind of like a divine.
Oh, yes.
But
you know,
I also was reading magazines.
Okay.
I talk about this in my book, how, I went to the cafeteria one day after getting on the scale and seeing I was 37.5 pounds and 47.5% body fat. And I had this visceral sensation that I was going to die if I had not changed something. Okay. So something occurred. And I went right back to bed because I was hungover. And then I woke up and it was lunchtime and I was like, let me go to the cafeteria. And we could just probably remove this chicken now.
Want to remove it now? Okay. Yeah. And do we want to turn that down a little bit?
Yeah. So we brought it to the boil. And now we're going to take the chicken out.
You can put it right here, and we'll use this to shred it.
Yeah.
Do we want 2 forks, or do you like...
2 forks is pretty, yeah. We'll do the little one just to see, and you can test it to see if it shreds properly. Otherwise, we might need to add it back in. Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah, it looks good. So I went to the cafeteria. And I saw these guys, like athletes, like the athlete team, sitting in the cafeteria, and they were like ripped and muscly. And I was looking at their plates, and I was like, they're eating salad with chicken, and how boring. And I was like, well, wait a minute, let me do that. Because, I had the thought, I didn't know about spiritual tools and practices and the law of attraction. I didn't know any of that stuff back then.
Okay.
But something inside of me said, well, if you want to be like the thing that you see, you got to do the things that they're doing.
Right.
So in a way, almost instantaneously, when I say instantaneously, it had happened in a blinking of an eye, which is what they say about Revelation.
Okay.
In the Christian Bible.
Right.
That the Christ will come within the blinking of an eye. And so I literally was one way, and then I was instantaneously another way. So I started eating healthier.
That's interesting.
And I started moving my body. And then a year and a half later, I was almost 130 pounds lighter.
So it was just a choice that you made, and you stuck with the choice.
Yes.
You didn't have you didn't falter. You didn't have cheat days.
Oh, I had cheat days.
Okay,
Yeah.
you didn't have. This is too hard. Why am I doing this?
That never really came up.
That didn't come up.
And I was like, I made a choice to also be okay with the frustration.
Do we want to add the rice at this point?
Yeah, let's add the rice. So this is a cup or a quarter. What is it?
That is a half a cup.
Half a cup.
And we need it like slightly boiling, right?
Yeah, slightly boiling.
Okay.
I'm just going to sprinkle it so it's puts evenly throughout.
Mm-hmm. For you?
Just a little bit, like a couple teaspoons out.
Okay,
It doesn't matter if there's rice in there or not.
Does the speed matter?
No, it's just good to have a nice, like, steady. The whole idea is what we're doing, tempering eggs really is about raising the temperature without cooking them. So we're raising the temperature of the egg to the same temperature as the pot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Without cooking it.
Oh boy. There we go. Here you go. It's the ladle. Oh, look at how creamy that got. Amazing.
Now, if we did it right, hopefully it may curdle just a little bit, but
I don't think so. That looks fantastic.
Yes. Beautiful.
All right.
Silky. Can't wait to eat it. So we could probably put in the chicken.
Put the chicken back in?
Yeah.
Get the chicken flavored.
Now, for those of you who have never had this at all, and if you just want to try it without me, because you might not like it, so just go to a diner and ask for the lemon soup.
Yeah, I would say most Greek restaurants have this on the menu, right?
Exactly. But once you realize that you like it, definitely make it, because it's fantastic. The rice is going to continue to cook, so we can just start adding in the other things, because the spinach will take another few minutes to bring down.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, here we go.
Now you can do it with a mirepoix to start. You could. So if you wanted to have carrot and celery in there, you totally could do that. Or you could even use escarole.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Instead of the spinach.
Mm-hmm. So, I happened by your booth at the expo.
Oh, yeah.
And what caught my eye is the slogan, "What would you love?"
Oh, yeah.
Because that is what I help my clients to find as well. And that is the recurring theme in my life, is leaning into the heart, right? And less in the head. And so that's what was curious to me when I stopped by your booth. So do you use that in your coaching? Like, do you lean into that with your clients?
Okay, it's the number one question that is asked. Because I teach something called, it's the process I call it, which is from the practice method, is living into a life of your vision. Mm-hmm. The only way you can do it is by answering the question, what would you love? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you're kind of, sometimes we don't know what we love.
Yes.
Like I don't know. Yes. I've lived my life a certain way. I don't even know how to love, or I don't know what I would like, or what I would like. So my training and background has given me the tools, right, to say, okay, well, there's these other things in your life called longing and discontent. Like, so what are you discontented with about your life?
Right. Right.
Because the flip side of that coin, because everything is yin yang. Yes. The flip side of that coin is like, well, we can invent what we love simply by looking at what our discontent is.
Yeah.
And it's
always the opposites.
Wait, I do like that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when someone comes to work with me, it is one of the fundamental questions that does get asked. It's like, okay, we're going to dive into a vision now of what you want for your life, and it's going to be health and well-being, your love and your relationships, your vocation, your career, what do you do for a living? Mm-hmm. And then the fourth quadrant is your freedom. How do you experience time and money?
Yeah, yeah.
And I want you to invent a vision for that,
Okay.
for your life.
Okay.
And if you're stuck, you answer the question, what would you love?
Mm-hmm.
What would you love in your health and well-being? What would you love in your relationships? What would you love in your career? What would you love?
So did you do this all for yourself?
I did it for myself as well.
And that's how you came to understand what your career would be and
Absolutely.
do you have the love of your life as well?
Oh, right. As of right now, absolutely. And I had gone through people say, oh, well, how long have you been together? We've been together a very short time, less than a year.
Okay.
And I say this to his face, and we kind of chuckle over it, but we look at each other and like, I can't believe I invented you. Like, we invented each other.
Yeah.
And I literally had an affirmation that was like 2 paragraphs long, like loving and accepting this and this, and what we feel about each other, the way we're intimate, like all the qualities.
And you're seeing it.
But it was before, and I was seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, it was more of a checklist. Oh, they got to be 6 feet tall, and they got to be this structure, and they got to have dark hair.
Oh.
So it was all about the affectational outside.
Right.
Whereas this new list was all about the qualities.
Yeah.
And I remember being on a call with a client who happened to also be a reverend, and she's developing a nonprofit that I'm helping her build.
Mm-hmm.
And expand through my coaching. And she was like, so this person that you've been searching for, and she also knows the prayer technique.
Okay.
She's like, let's just say right now it's going to happen. And I'm like, oh, duh. Like, wait a minute.
Sometimes we need that mirror.
Sometimes you need, this is the idea. Coaches need coaches.
Yes.
Prayer practitioners need prayer practitioners. Like, teachers need teachers.
Yes.
So she was like, this is what's going to happen. She took the affirmation. She put it all into prayer. She, was like, and this is happening. I kid you not again. I was, like I said, over there in the other room. When I say I kid you not, I went out that night. And she says, why don't you do something self-love? Like, go out. And I had been doing this for quite a number of months. I've been going out on self-dates.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, how would I want someone to treat me?
Uh-huh.
Like, I want them to take me out for sushi.
Yeah.
I want,
right.
I would say, I want them to take me out to a movie. I want to go out dancing and have a drink. And so I lined everything up, and I was like, I'm going to spend the night and do all that for myself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I went out to a movie. I had dinner at sushi. I was like, where should I go dancing? And there was this place in a local town nearby. I was like, let me go there and I'll have a drink. I walked in and it was like, oh, it's empty. And boom, this person just walks through my path. It's like, hey. And I thought they were leaving. Because I was coming through the entrance and they were leaving the entrance. And I was like, oh, crap. All right. And then 10 minutes later, I'm at the bar and all of a sudden pops right back in. And I was like, all right, that's no coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Let me invite you over. And we had a drink together and we started talking and we've been together ever since.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I happen to do our human design profiles together. So now if you don't know this, so there's this idea of compatibility charting, and you can combine your human design charts. So it'll tell you if you are compatible or not based on your design and strategy.
Okay.
And we are 100% matched.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, what is that? Like,
thus I invented
the prayer, the affirmation, and then bump into a person in an unlikely scenario, and all of a sudden it's the exact person.
Yeah.
You need to. So I was like, all right, it's in the stars.
So I was on a similar path at a point where I left my ex-husband, and I didn't want anyone in my life at that point, but I did know that what I wanted was to be loved. And so I started making a list of the qualities that I would want, right, based on what I knew I didn't get before, right? And my list was 83 things long. How long was your list?
mine was quite a bit. It was like in the 50s.
Yeah, I mean, you don't set out to write, a certain number, but when you get specific enough, you're really setting that that map, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but absolutely. And was some of those like loving, accepting,
Yes.
being adored?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can see that. Wow, this is going to be fantastic. I can just tell.
When was the last time you had this?
Oh, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
but I didn't make it. I had it at a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's probably almost ready.
I was going to say, I think it's maybe time to give it a taste. What do you think?
Might be a little warm.
Just in case, we'll see.
Just going to give it a little.
We'll see if it needs salt or anything, right? Okay, cheers.
Cheers. It's a little hot, so.
Oh, that's delicious. So warm and comforting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
the rice is cooked.
Oh, the rice was definitely
It's
cooked.
just perfect.
Wow.
The rice is creamy and the broth is creamy.
See, so isn't it so strange that like it looks like there's cream in it?
Yeah.
It's not, and it's got that bright yellow flavor. That's from the egg. So it's not from the lemon, it's from the egg.
I love it. And now I'm going to use that technique in my other soups.
Yeah. You can use it in other soups. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to turn it off.
All right.
All good?
Yeah.
And give it a little sprinkle
Oh,
of the
definitely.
parsley.
We want to do some presentation work here.
Yeah.
Now you can use parsley, but another traditional Greek topping or garnish is dill.
Oh, yeah, dill.
Dill, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that looks beautiful.
Perfect.
I think that we took a really good leap here
Yes, we
with
did.
this soup. I love how the broth transformed from that translucent to
This thick, creamy.
It's creamy,
it's not delicious.
right? So now our life went from being kind of like watered down to rich and luscious
Mm-hmm.
and full of body and flavor,
Yeah.
right?
And that's definitely like a mantra for life that I think that people should use flowery language when it comes to affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want a delicious life.
Yeah.
You know, you got to suck the marrow out of it. Right?
There you go.
So,
well, this
wonderful.
has been a real treat. And
Yes.
thank you for doing this today. And we are going to sit down and enjoy our
I
wonderful
cannot wait.
bowl of
Avgolemono.
Avgolemono.
Yes. And technically the G is silent. So it's Avgolemono.
Oh, I'll practice that for next
Yeah.
time. Thank you, Theo.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
So thanks for watching and enjoy your bowl of Greek lemon chicken soup. And remember, always be nice to yourself.